I'm going to make a buck saw for cutting siding, vinyl or aluminum. It's a pretty inexpensive way to go about it if you don't need an expensive buck saw all the time. It will help your job go a lot faster, a lot neater if you have something like this to cut on. I have two 8-foot 2x4s, a half sheet of 7/16 OSB, one 8-foot 2x2, and your saw, some screws, a drill is about all you need for this. The widest thing I'm going to be cutting is the soffit, which is 13 inches. Basically what I did is I ripped my 4-foot piece to 17 inches, which is 4 inches bigger than I need. That gives me a little bit of room so you're not fighting your pieces in and out of the saw, because you are going to have a 2x2 on the back for a fence and a 2x2 on the front edge to hold your saw up off the table. I started with the 2x4s laying flat, and then I lined my ripped plywood down on it, starting from the left and the right, keeping it nice and straight with that 2x4, and that automatically gave me a little gap in the middle. We're going to need that. So I'm just tacking this down with some drywall screws, maybe 6 in each piece to hold it, because I'm going to take this thing apart when I'm done. I don't use this thing all the time. Just once in a while, I'll make one of these. Same thing with the back. Line it up with the corners and keep it nice and straight with that back edge. And then I got a 2x2 for a fence. You could run it the whole length, the whole 8-foot for a fence, but I don't really need that. So I have 4 foot cut in half, and I'm going to line it up with the plywood on the back edge. The back edge and that inside edge, which is what I'm going to use for a guide for my blade. I pre-drilled these for some 2.5-inch drywall screws. There again, holding them flush with the edges of the plywood, and just snug those down to hold them in place. And then on the front edge, same thing. That's about a 9 or 10-inch piece on each side of that, and I'm going to pre-drill and screw those down as well, keeping with the edge of the plywood there on that inside edge. Yeah, watch your fingers, that'll get away from you if you're not careful. Screw those down snug. Then you can see that I got 14 inches, so I'm not fighting, my soffit in there. And then that's plenty of room for the vinyl sidings, a lot smaller than that. So next thing would be the base of my saw from the blade out, or from the edge into the blade. And I'm going to rip a piece of that leftover OSB, that width, which on mine was 5 inches, and it's about 2 feet long roughly. And then I'm going to line it up with these with that left side. I guess if you're left-handed, you might want to put it on the right side, maybe, I don't know, but line it up real nice with those edges, and then I'm going to tack that down as well with some drywall screws, and ran it out past the table, so that gives me a place to rest the saw, so I'm not, so you don't have to set it down and pick it up all the time. You can just leave it sit on the table. Tack that down real good, countersink them a little bit, so your saw will run nice and clean across there. I had a piece of 3/4 plywood that I'm going to screw down for actually a fence for the saw itself to ride against. The same length as my that OSB there. So that'll give me a straight edge to push against, and then you can leave your saw sit out there so it's not in the way. You could put, rather than that 3/4 piece, you could put some leftover 2x2 on the right side. But I don't really like that way. I've done that before, and it's hard to see your marks on your siding down through that crack. So I'm going to leave the 3/4 little fence on there and leave that open so I can see. You could make marks on the fence itself for cutting your siding. This, my saw, I took a good blade out. I got a used blade, and what you want to do is turn your blade around backwards so it spins in the opposite direction, so it's not digging into the siding, because it'll just rip it to shreds if you do it that way. It's a pretty good carbide blade, turned around backwards. And I got it in there and locked down, and what I'm going to do, or what I normally do, is I'll run my blade guard all the way up, take a couple shims, and wedge in there to hold that thing up. It could be a little dangerous if you're not careful, but if you're careful, it's going to kind of speed things along. That guard seems to get in the way sometimes when you're cutting your siding. So here I got a piece of soffit in there. You can see I got a little bit of room to play with. Make a mark on your siding, and you can either, you can judge it. You can either cut on one side of your mark or the other. Or like I said, you could mark the fence itself, with numbers going from left to right there. You could cut it that way. But so there you go. Nice and clean, nice and smooth. It's not tearing it up. And you can leave your saw sit on the table. And just going to help you out as far as speed up your project and whatnot. And so you're not using snips and that kind of stuff. So yeah, you can use this thing, and then when you're done, you can burn it, throw it away, take it apart, or you can leave it in your garage and save for when, if you have a project here and there. But yeah, this is definitely a time saver, so hope that helps.